Was a fine Thursday morning, another day at the office. Sat down at my desk to a peculiar sight. Little game key popped up on my monitor. Little game called Mouse PI for Hire. Hell of a thing. This funny little game had been on my radar for a hot minute. There I was, staring at the face of a game I knew I was gonna have to beat. But it was launch day, so I knew I was gonna have to bang this one out quick. It's time for me to lock in and see what this little mouse game was all about. So yeah, I do mean it when I say that this game's been on my radar for a little bit. I remember when they first released kind of like this, the first little peek into what they were doing behind the scenes there, and it caught my interest immediately. A boomer shooter, rubber hose, cartoon style game. I don't know, they were speaking my language. I enjoy some boomer shooters. These types of arcadey, fast-paced, shoot-em-up kind of games are fun. Really enjoy that type of game. And anything with a cartoony aesthetic, I don't know, it appeals to me. Sorry if you can hear the fucking weed whacker or lawnmower or whatever it is outside. I don't know why my neighbors decide that when I sit down to record something, it's time to go out and do all the things that they could do at any other time. But hey, before we jump into it, you ought to hit that like button and subscribe. Thank you, it'll make this little investigation a whole lot easier. I should also mention I was provided a code for this one, so, you know, thank you for the people responsible for that. Thank you so much. So I did beat the game, I beat the game last night, and now that it's done, I would say that, for the most part, I enjoyed what this game had to offer. I liked it. Oh my fucking god, they're getting closer. Just come on out, right over here outside my window. Come on, bring it on over. There's not even grass outside my window. Why don't you mow my fucking roof while you're at it? Let me start off with the things that I really enjoyed about this game. Okay, so first of all, I think that the most important element, the most important piece of the puzzle here has got to be the gunplay, and it was fun. Not without its flaws, and I will get into that, but at the very least, like on a mechanical level, you know, walking into a new area and then like shooting your way through a horde of enemies, it's fun. It's satisfying in the way that it should be for a boomer shooter, you know? The game stars Jack Pepper, the mouse PI for hire. Get it? It's cheese. This game is cheesy. And I mean that. This damn game is obsessed with cheese. You cannot get through a dialogue string with a character without them involving cheese somehow. But for what it is, you know, I found the characters to be enjoyable. The voice acting especially is top-notch. Really good stuff here. They got Troy Baker in to voice the main guy, Jack Pepper, and he really brings it. He really sells this kind of grizzled, seen-it-all kind of mouse detective guy. He got the real grizzly dizzly going on with his voice, you know what I'm talking about. Visually, I enjoyed what the game was going for. Obviously, it would have multiplied the budget by many tens of times if they went for like everything being 2D animated. So I can understand why they chose to really reserve that for like the characters, the enemies, the guns and weapons, that type of stuff, and then do the environment in more of like a 3D kind of thing. There's going to be so much noise and feedback from that fucking lawnmower, bro. And of course, everything is all noir aesthetic with the black and white and all that. It's a nice choice aesthetically for what they're going for here. I think it kind of has the side effect of like not making any levels stand out a whole lot in my mind. And I guess there are kind of some other reasons for that too that I'm gonna get into. Yeah, the music is also excellent. You know, like the main theme that you hear a lot, the Jack Pepper theme. You're gonna hear that a lot, and I don't know, it's catchy. It's been in my head for the last few days. You know, I find myself humming it, snapping. Just very nice. Again, I'd like to emphasize, like, what's here of the combat and like the gameplay. It's fun. It feels good. Landing those headshots on the goons that come out and they try to, you know, they're trying to kill you. Their heads explode and fall to the ground. I don't know. It's good. It's satisfying stuff. I would say that like the movement and traversal options here like aren't anything super out of the ordinary. I'd say it's fairly standard stuff for like, you know, boomer shooter type of gameplay. You zip around, you jump, you have a double jump, you do a little gliding. Again, not really anything out of the ordinary, but it works. It's fine. It's good. Okay, so let's talk about some things that I think could have probably been improved for Mouse PI, or maybe that they could take into account and improve prove for a potential sequel, because I would like to see a sequel for this game. I think it's got some potential here to do some fun stuff for a follow-up. So yeah, I kind of mentioned that this game doesn't really do anything too out of the ordinary, aside from like, you know, the visual aesthetic for it, and I guess kind of the story too. And I feel like that's kind of just a little bit to the game's detriment. If you're like me and you play a lot of shooters, you play a lot of games, I don't really feel like this game does a whole lot to keep me truly deeply invested in what's going on. When the game started up, I was really vibing with it. I was really enjoying the kind of gameplay and all the things it had to offer. But I think one of the critical flaws of this game is that like it introduces new elements just like far too slowly to really shake it up and spice it up and keep it interesting and engaging the whole way. New weapons and traversal options are kind of rolled out to you at a snail's pace, and I feel like those types of things for a game like this, where a lot of the experience is just going room to room, blasting through waves of enemies and doing some light platforming traversal type stuff, that type of gameplay can get repetitive without introducing new things to the player, like at a somewhat reasonable pace to kind of continue to shake it up and keep it interesting. And unfortunately, like something that I wasn't like too keen on were a lot of the weapons. Like yes, there's some decent variety, but I actually didn't really care for a lot of the weapon selection that was here in this game. I found myself swapping between the Tommy gun and the shotgun more often than not, and like some of the late game weapons, like very late game weapons that you get towards the very end, I was really unimpressed with. Like they were not really all that fantastic to me. It's unfortunate to say, and at the same time, the game really doesn't push you to try and utilize your expanded arsenal at any point. Once you find a weapon that you like, you really don't have much reason to have to switch it up. Like actually, yeah, not at all. You can just kind of use the same weapon throughout the rest of your playthrough with no incentive to swap. And really that's because of the very limited like enemy variety in this game. You're gonna be blasting through the same waves of the same enemy types like throughout the entire game. Smaller guys that you knock out in one shot, there's bigger guys you have to dump your entire clip into to kill them, but none of them that require any specific type of guns or weapons or artillery to take out. Off the top of my head, I think to a game like Doom Eternal, which I know is maybe not the most fair comparison. I mean, you know, Doom Eternal is kind of like the cream of the crop, you know, the top dog in the boomer shooter kind of space, but you know, you had guns that were more effective against certain enemies than others that you wanted to utilize when you were, you know, getting into these horde battles and all that kind of stuff. So I guess as sort of like an example, like maybe they could have had some armored mice that a shotgun would have been more effective against rather than a little rat-tat-tatler, you know? Stuff kind of in that sort of vein, requiring you to utilize your full arsenal, because again, like I said, like once I got the Tommy gun, that was pretty much my go-to for the whole rest of the game. The gameplay loop has a pretty consistent rhythm in the 12 to 15 hour campaign. Enter a new area, shoot through waves of enemies, do a little platforming, look for some secrets, talk to some characters, and you know, get exposited to, and that's kind of it. I feel like maybe they could have introduced some elements to kind of shake this up a little bit, spice it up a little bit, because like unfortunately, like even the secret hunting really doesn't feel all that necessary throughout your journey. The most important collectible that you will be finding when you're secret hunting are these blueprints that allow you to upgrade your weapons, which is nice and all, but more often than not, you're just going to be finding, you know, vaults filled with coins and money, and that's pretty much it. And to tell you the truth, the currency is basically entirely inconsequential. I can't think of a single instance where I even needed to use any of the money that I had stacked up in this game. I think you can use it to stop at little rest stops and get ammo for guns that maybe you're missing ammo for, but it's really not necessary, because when you're on the battlefield, when you're in these levels, there's ammo around every corner for you to pick up and restock, so it's kind of just like, I don't know, there's not much purpose. You do these little lockpick puzzles that really just get repeated over and over throughout the game, and I do mean like they're basically copy and pasted. Like once you've done one of them, you've pretty much seen what it has to offer. You'll get slight variations on you know, the ways that these are completed throughout the rest of the game. I really wouldn't say that they get a whole lot more challenging than that. And that's another thing too, like the game isn't super challenging, not that I necessarily needed it to be, but like, okay, so you have 3 difficulty options that you can can choose from, an easy, medium, hard mode. I started off on medium, and I kind of felt like it was a bit of a cakewalk, so pretty early on into my playthrough, I cranked the difficulty up to hard, and it wasn't without its challenges, don't get me wrong. Like, there were some, you know, tougher areas to battle through, but nothing too crazy. So if you're worried about the challenge here, I wouldn't be. I think you'll be fine, probably. The game does have a handful of boss fights that are kind of neat. They are, you know, these kind of bullet sponge boss battles, and they do kind of shake it up just a little bit, you know, gives you kind of something different to work with there. Neat stuff. I gotta be honest here, and like, I don't want to make it sound like I'm shitting on the game, because I did find the game enjoyable, but I will say I wasn't overly engaged with the story or the mystery here that was going on. And I feel like a part of that is like, you know, as you're playing through these levels, you're picking up clues that pertain to the mystery at hand. And when you get back to Jack Pepper's office, you know, he handles all the detective stuff himself. You know, you walk up to a board and he pins the stuff up, and like, there's not really any input from the player there to try to piece things together. I feel like maybe that was a little bit of a missed opportunity that would have added a little bit of variety to the mix here. But I understand that the game is a boomer shooter, and that's probably where they wanted to like focus the efforts here. Understandable, but like, even then, I feel like the game is so dialogue heavy. I mean, when you get into it with a character, you're gonna be rambling with them for a while. And again, like, I didn't really find the story all that compelling. I was kind of just bored sitting there waiting for these characters to be done yapping. Fortunately, you do have the option to speed through the dialogue. I opted more often than not to sit there and listen to them exposit anyway, but if I'm being real, I wasn't really retaining a whole lot. I was kind of going in one ear and at the other. I'd pretty routinely find myself tabbing out while they're yapping away, like scrolling through YouTube or something. I just don't know that having such extensive dialogue and story in a fast-paced boomer shooter where, you know, you just want to get out there and do some shooting and some secret hunting and all that kind of stuff, I don't know if it's necessarily the best mix. And like, I know it's supposed to be like a noir detective story, right? But the problem is you're not really doing any of the noir detective stuff, so it's kind of like, I think they could have really shaved a lot of the dialogue and story elements down and put a lot more focus into the boomer shooter elements. But even then, you know, I gotta be honest, what it offers as a boomer shooter is just a little bit plain. Still enjoyable, because it has that sort of fast-paced, snappy, shoot-'em-up combat, you know what I'm talking about, but for the reasons that I had already mentioned, I feel like maybe it could have been fleshed out just a bit more. At the end of the day, I enjoyed Mouse PI for Hire. I think I would have enjoyed it more had there been a bit more variety, a bit more reason to kind of explore and change up my gameplay style throughout the experience. The way that you deal with the first wave of enemies is the same exact way you're going to be dealing with the last wave of enemies, which I know might sound like kind of an unusual critique for a boomer shooter, where that's what you're supposed to do, right? You go into these rooms, blast through waves of enemies, you move on. Like I said, you know, give me a little more incentive for a reason to swap between my weapons, offering some enemy variety, that, you know, certain weapons would be more effective against them, that type of thing. That's kind of what I'm referring to. That would have gone a long way, I think, to kind of keep things fresh throughout the experience and introducing new elements at a quicker pace, because like I said, the rollout of new weapons and traversal mechanics is pretty slow. I don't usually give number scores to games because I feel like, you know, the content of what I'm saying is the most important stuff to listen to, you know. Hopefully you've taken away what you need to take away from what I've said. But if I had to rate it, I would probably put it at around like a 7 or a 7.5, you know. Again, it was enjoyable. It wasn't a bad game. Just maybe a little bit plain, a little bit vanilla. There is a slight hint that maybe there could be a sequel at some point after this, so I really just wanted to like air my thoughts out about this so that hopefully they could take some of this into consideration for a follow-up. I think it has the potential to be something even better. So I think that's I think that might be my thoughts. I think that might be my thoughts on this game. Yeah, that's right. The Mouse PI. I finally did it. Played through the game. I put my video out on the internet. I can finally kick back and relax. Except I won't be doing that. I knew what lay ahead of me. I had a bigger project, bigger fish to fry. Might be a little bit until you hear from me again. But trust me when I say, it'll be worth it. Some of my longtime viewers might know what I'm talking about. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you hit that like button and subscribe if you're new. Thank you for watching, and thanks for listening. I'll catch you guys in the next one.